What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing the 1,000 round review of the new FN 509 LS Edge. Now, the LS Edge is a gun that came out in 2021, and it's coming off the success of the 509 series. There's quite a few 509s, subcompact, compact, full size, and a G45 version. Well, this is the long slide version with the 5-inch slide, and it actually has a lot of accessories that the previous ones do not have. Before we get into the review, I want to mention my patron supporters. It's because of you I can get guns like this. I purchased this gun with patron dollars, so if you want to support the channel, all you got to do is go down to the link in the description and sign up. It's the first link there. Also, it'll get you some exclusive content, and like I said, patron's a good spot to get me as well if you got any questions for me. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. I'd really appreciate it if you guys will go down and donate to those kids. Even before the patron, just slide over there and throw a couple bucks to those kids. They could really use your help. Finally, there's a link to Honest Outlaw swag that the missus made, hats, shirts, all that cool stuff. You want to be a part of that, all you got to do is go down to the description and click that link. Now back to the 509 LS Edge. This is a 5-inch striker-fired pistol that is designed for competition, duty use, and home defense, and it's not necessarily designed for one particular mindset, but more so enough accessories to cover pretty much everything that you're gonna need. A little bit too big to conceal carry, in my personal opinion. However, I do know several people who carry guns not only this big, but even bigger than this. What I mean is 5-inch guns that are all steel frame. This is obviously a polymer frame. It has the, like I said, the 5-inch slide, but it comes in at about 31 ounces, making it a little bit heavier than a lot of guns in its class, like the PPQ Match, Glock 34, VP9 long slide, and stuff like that. Some of the unique features the gun comes with right off the bat are going to be, the star of the show, in my opinion, is either going to be the slide cuts or the optics system. So we'll start with the slide cuts. What they wanted to do was create a 5-inch gun that had the same reciprocating mass, sort of, as their original 4-inch gun or 4.5-inch gun. So what they did was they put these huge lightning cuts in there, these slide ports here, or the slide cuts, sorry. There's no porting in the actual barrel, just the cuts in the slide. And that does a couple of things. Number one, it allows a very positive grip surface. So if you're a guy like me who likes to do the pinch kind of press check method of running your slide, I started doing that a lot because it gets a little jumbled up back here running optics. So in the past few years, I've been running optics more and more and more. So instead of coming back here for the slingshot method and potentially messing up the zero of my optic, I decided to opt for going the front of the slide route. And that's a lot easier to do if you have these big aggressive cuts. The other thing it does is lower the mass of the slide to essentially the same weight that they had with the 4.5-inch gun. And that allows the slide to speed up a little bit, and it allows them to use, I assume, the same recoil assembly as the original, or at least the same weight, so they don't have to change a whole lot of stuff. They also added Browning high power cuts here, which I really like, and they added a little bit of a Glock 34 Terran Tactical style cut on the front of the muzzle there. And they really spared no expense with this. So they have the tungsten, what I believe, if I remember correctly, it's a Cerakote job, and it held up really well also over the testing. You see a couple of scratches there. But as far as the lightning cuts, the high power cuts, the front of this, and then we'll get back to the optics system here. The optics system is second to none as far as the polymer frame world as well. A lot of times when you have like a Glock MOS system, which I pick on a lot, they'll come with some kind of cheesy plates, and over time those can bend and you can lose zero, or you can even have your optic fly off in a training class or stuff like that, whereas the FN system is just a little bit more durable overall, so you kind of get the durability of a direct milled system, but you have the ability to change optics if you so choose, and the gun comes with a whole bunch of optics plates as well, which is a really nice feature. If you get a gun like the VP9 or the new PDP, originally those guns weren't even shipping with optics plates, and I had to source them aftermarket, and the VP9 was around $100. So the fact this comes with like 6 plates and a bunch of different configurations right out of the box is certainly value added. On top of that, you can tell the gun was kind of designed to be an optics ready pistol because it has suppressor height sights on it, and that allows you to co-witness with your optics. So if you're running maybe a less than durable optic, let's say, you can transition to those iron sights if you so desire. Also, if you don't have a lot of reps on red dots, you can, you know, punch the gun out, look for the iron sights, and then transition to the dot if you want to do that. I don't do that, but I've got a few more reps on guns than most people. So overall, I think it's a really good value as far as the top of the slide goes, and those sights are pretty awesome. As you can see, it's a green fiber optic front with a blacked out rear with a U-notch, and the first shots this video we did do just with the iron sights, and the sights I do really like. I also really like the look of the gun overall, the two-tone look with the tungsten slide. Man, I'm a sucker for that. That's another gun that does that relatively well is going to be the Canik TP9 SFX. Now, this trigger was hyped up an awful lot, and I'd have to say, by looking at it in the gun case, I was very excited. I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's a flat-face trigger. It looks like it's got a pretty clean break to it on the videos, and overall it breaks at 90 degrees, so it should be very comfortable and very accurate. The problem with that is that the trigger actually kind of sucks. Looks can be deceiving after all, and if you compare this to something that you can get a lot cheaper, for example, like maybe the VP9L, this gun comes in at around $800, not with the cool ass stippling from RM Custom there, but pretty much this whole package besides the optic and the stippling you can get for about 800 bucks. You can also get the PDP here for about $500-600, and I can tell you that the trigger on this is shockingly superior to the trigger on the FN. As far as that goes, I don't remember the last time I've ever picked up a gun this expensive that had a trigger this poor. It looks cool, that's great, but I mean it's like 7 pounds, 8 pounds. You can see there that it's a very pronounced break, and it really gave me issues with the accuracy of the gun. I usually get into reliability first, but let's go with accuracy first, since it was, I would argue, my biggest complaint with the firearm, and the problems with the accuracy really hinge on that trigger. Now, people perceive things differently. I'm sure there's people out there who can just bullseye like a mother with this gun, but for the 5-inch slide with the optic and the quality hammer forged barrel, it really should have been getting a lot more accuracy than I actually got out of the gun. I was having some issues hitting at like 50 yards with this gun sometimes, and I could hit with the Shield Plus at 50 yards. So overall, I'd say I think a lot of its fault has got to be that trigger. I shoot a lot of different guns in all fairness, and between me and this trigger and this grip, there was just something not vibing as far as accuracy goes. As you can see here, the grip, even though I've got the large backstrap on it, is really small, and it's really diminutive, and I have very little space for my support hand, and on top of that, it makes my trigger finger go way in the trigger guard there. So part of it is that, so I end up having to worm my finger out a lot like this when I'm pulling the trigger, but a lot of it is just that very stiff break. And then on top of that, the reset isn't awesome either. And I think the reason behind that is because they're trying to make this a competitive / duty pistol. So in order to get the reliability with multiple different types of ammo, they have to have a relatively heavy spring in there, which makes the trigger pull kind of shitty. So overall, I just think this is more of a conflict of interest with what they want the gun to be. They're not really sure what they want the gun to be, whether it be a competitive or a duty pistol or a home defense pistol or a carry pistol. They want it to fit every single niche. And the problem with doing something like that is you often kind of miss all of them, which is sort of what I think the story of the 509 really is that it comes with all of these really great features, but they're kind of conflicting in what they actually want the gun to be. Now, we'll go down to the grip here, and you can see the aggressive texture is really nice. I like that a lot. I think it was well thought out. The squares on the front appear to be kind of cheesy, like they look a little cheap, but they do work really well. And then the kind of sandpaperish texture that they did out of the polymer there, it also kind of looks cheesy, but it does work really well. See the big old FN logo there, and then we have the scalloped magazine release that is also extended, and that did work really well. Another thing that I like about the gun is going to be the magwell. I didn't like the fact that they came out with a 5-inch gun with the 15 round size compact grip, similar to the VP9 and the PPQ match before it. I got the big old bear claws, and I don't like that at all, and especially when they add a magwell, then it really pinches my hand up in there. This they did extremely well. well. So they added this mag well, and you can tell it leaves no bulk on the outside of the gun, but it does give you a really nice funnel for those magazine changes. Out of all the tactical magazine wells I've seen on pistols, this is one of my favorite. It's really excellent the way they did this particular design. The other thing I like is they added 3 magazines in the box, and they're all 17 rounds. So you get 18 rounds plus 1 with a whole bunch more going along the way, which allows you to kind of gamer it up right away, and it makes it more fun to shoot and plink, and it makes it more fun to train in case you have to actually use this gun seriously. The other thing that it does is cuts off the cost of buying extra magazines when you're done. So we'll get to kind of my complaints about the price here in a little bit, but I do want you to know that for the money you do get quite a few accessories. Now we have the Holosun HS507C X2 ACSS Vulcan. That is quite the mouthful on top of there. This is actually the new red dot with the primary arms reticle that I really love. And I've been running on a whole bunch of guns lately because I'm going to do like a 5,000 round review of this thing here pretty soon. And I'm just beating the crap out of it, and it seems to be running really well. It runs off the RMR pattern, so it's easy to just take one of my SROs off or one of my RMRs off, which is my primary type of optic, and it's really easy to run these 507s, but I just wanted to tell you that why it's on there. A couple other things that the gun has going on for it is going to be obviously a full pick rail, so you can use it for home defense, no problem. And again, it's kind of right in the middle as far as a little bit heavier than the VP9 PPQ Glock 34, but it's not going to be quite as heavy as something like obviously a CZ or something like that has a steel frame. So it kind of fits right in the middle. It's about the same weight as a Beretta M9, honestly, even though that's an aluminum frame. And a part of that is just because the FN509 is a very beefy gun. The small ones are very beefy as well. You can tell they build this with durability in mind. I like the takedown lever. I like that most guns are going toward that instead of something like the Glock takedown, which I think has a little better chance of getting stuck. They did the slide release really well also, and it's really easy to manipulate under stress, and you can see there is ambi as well for left-handers, and the magazine release is swappable, and there is a scallop on that side as well. So for you left-handers, you're not missing anything if you buy this gun, and I think that's a nice touch as well. Now, we'll get into reliability, and the reliability on the FN I expected to be 100% because FN is a company that makes bomb-proof military designs, and this one, not so much. We actually had 2 failures with this out of 1,000 rounds, which isn't a lot, don't get me wrong, and it totally could have been ammunition related. However, I really did expect 100%, and the 2 malfunctions were caused, one I believe by ammo, and one definitely by my wife limp wristing. So you could argue that it wasn't necessarily the gun's fault. However, we did have the slide really sluggish towards the end, and I feel like overall the gun just needs to be lubricated a little bit more than something like maybe a Glock 34 or something like that, which I've ran thousands of rounds of and had no issues. I would consider the reliability really good, but not like peak performance CZ Shadow 2 Glock 34. And even though it had those 2 malfunctions, you could buy this gun, shoot 500,000, 2,000 rounds through it, and you could never have any issues. I'm kind of weird like that with home defense guns, though. Competition gun, I'll excuse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 malfunctions even, or if like a really cheap budget gun. But we get into the home defense duty style guns that are above $1,000. I kind of expect 1,000 out of 1,000. Getting back to the accuracy. The accuracy was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't plus $1,000 5-inch pistol good, but it was pretty good. Now, one of the things that I also didn't like about the gun is going to be the recoil impulse. So the recoil impulse on the gun was heavier than I expected. Considering it's a 31-ounce 5-inch gun, I thought it would shoot like a dream. I mean, in all fairness, I really expected this to not only be extremely accurate, but extremely fast. For the price and the way the gun's built and the way the gun looks, it looks like a race car, so I expected it to perform like a race car. And it kind of performed like a race car from like the 50s. You know what I mean? Like, it was like kind of clunky, didn't turn all that well, you know, before they figured out everything. The recoil impulse on the gun, even though it was so hyped up, I felt was extreme by comparison to something like my JagerWorks Glock 34, for example, which is like 4 ounces lighter. And I know this is a custom Glock 34 that you're seeing in front of you here, but the reason why I brought it out for you to take a look as a comparison is because they're about the same price. You can get this for about the same price as this. So I expect this to perform like this. And sadly, it just did not. I can shoot my Glock 34 significantly faster because the muzzle flip is not near as extreme as something like the FN 509 LS Edge. And I think that's where we have to separate a little bit of what we wanted the gun to be versus what it actually is. And all of it aside, it has a little bit higher bore axis. There's a lot of weight up on top of the slide, and that does translate to a little heavier recoil impulse. Is it a lot? No, absolutely not. And you got to remember, when we're talking about these downsides, we're splitting hairs here. But the reason why we're splitting hairs is because there's guns for this price that function and perform much better. I'll give you another example of a gun a similar price. This is a Ed Brown fueled M&P. Now, this is a complete custom gun. You buy this from Ed Brown, and it comes with all the features that you want it to come with. But the reality is it's also $1,500. So overall here, I think you get a lot out of the box. But what I don't think you get is $1,500 striker fire performance. Now, the gun works really well. If you like it, you shoot it well, obviously keep it. It's reliable enough, it's accurate enough, and it's quick enough to do pretty much any job. However, for the money, considering all the alternatives, the CZP-10F, for example, which comes in at about $500, I would consider out of the box shoots better than this gun does. It's just hard for me to justify telling you to go out and get the LS Edge. Just because it looks cool doesn't mean it works great. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.